Good morning, lovely people of Facebook world. Welcome in. My name is Helen Jennings. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK, and it's Friday morning here. So time to come on and do some crafting and do a bit of sharing with you. So open in front of me here, I've got the Trimming the Town suite. And this is going to be the suite that is featured in our next Lily Pad Stamp Club that is due to start on Monday. Due to lots of things going on, I'm still playing a little bit of catch up with the Gilded Autumn one, but that is going to happen over the next. Today is my big day for doing bits to go into there, so hopefully next 48 hours that one will be bursting at the seams with inspiration, and we'll be ready to start with Trimming the Town on Monday. So if you would like to join us in the Lily Pad Stamp Club, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can come and join us, because it is just lots and lots, an exclusive Facebook group with lots of inspiration, lots of 8 videos, 2 Facebook lives and other inspiration going in there as well. Lots of ways to help you not just buy the products, but actually use them as well. That is the plan. So if you buy morning Jane, if you buy £45 worth of products from the list, the shopping list that's on my website for this group, then you get entry into the group for free, but you can come and join us anyway. You can come and subscribe, which is £12.50 in UK prices. Again, if you go onto the website, and I'll make sure there's a link at the top for those, you'll find that I've listed approximate, depending on exchange rates and things, approximate prices for elsewhere in the world, but you are more than welcome to come and join us. So Trimming the Town, that starts on Monday and that runs for 4 weeks. So you get access into an exclusive Facebook group, and over the course of 4 weeks you get 8 videos, 2 Facebook lives and other lovely things. Also coming up next week, we have got a stamper stack going out, and again, you're not too late if you want to join in. It may be that your kit comes to you a bit later if you want me to order stamp sets and things for you, but we are going to be using, as she flicks to see if we can find it, the Have a Hoot bundle. So you can either just buy the class if you have already got those products, and that is you will get enough cardstock, paper, embellishments, etc., all the instructions, and a small introductory video to create 6 cards, 2 each of 3 different designs, using the Have a Hoot bundle. So you can have just the class option, you can have the option that you get the stamp set, or you can have the option that you get the whole bundle. So again, to say that's going to be ready to go out next week. If you would like to join in that fun, then do let me know. But let's have a play with what we're going to play with today. And you'll notice that I've got a rather nice little collection of colours out in front of me. Pool Party, Pacific Point, Night of Navy, Coastal Cabana, Highland Heather and Misty Moonlight. So those are the colours that I've got in front of me. Oh, and Balmy Blue. I'd picked it up so I didn't read it. I'm going to just move that up slightly so you've got a slightly wider angle. Morning, Angie. So those are the 7 colours that I've got out in front of me. And I'm just going to read you the blurb from the catalogue because it made me chuckle this morning. Obviously, they put all sorts of, they have to put the blurb in with these things, don't they? But I just thought it sounded like a really corny advert. Enjoy the splendour of hand-painted imagery in a rich, cool colour palette. Get swept away with a flurry of creative products designed to inspire you. Now, here ends the advert. That made me smile this morning. Get swept away with a flurry of creative products. But this is the Snowflake Splendor Suite, and it is a flurry of creative products. They are really beautiful. So what do we get in this suite? I've had it for a little while, and actually apart from adding a couple of tiny elements to other things, I've not really played with it. So you get the Snowflake Wishes stamp set. So yeah, lots of beautiful snowflakes on there that sort of give like a watercolour wash type effect. So you get lots and lots of snowflakes in the stamps. They're put your teeth in, Helen, photopolymer collection. Get some really nice greetings. I like this one. Our friendship is one of a kind, because obviously we all know that every snowflake is different. Just as every friendship is different. In the coldest moments of the year, my heart is warm because you're near. So that's sweet. May your season sparkle. There is actually a Happy Hanukkah greeting in there as well, which is really useful if you have any Jewish friends, family that you would like to send a greeting to. So that's the stamp set. The dies, again, some of them will cut out some of these stamped images. This one will cut into a piece of card, so it doesn't cut out the snowflake, it cuts the snowflake in. And you can see that because if you have a look at the die, you can see that the cut edges, which are the raised bits, aren't joined up. Whereas if you look at this one, the cut edges are joined up, so you know that that's going to cut out an outline, whereas this one's going to cut out all these little bits, so it's going to cut that into the card. As I say, some of those will cut bits out. You've then got this lovely frame with the snowflakes around the edges, and a couple of more little snowflakes there that those ones do cut out. So a nice little flurry of snowflakes. Here's one that I've cut out earlier in some silver foil, but you can see how detailed they are. Really beautiful. So gorgeous dies. So we've got a stamp set, we've got dies, we've got an embossing folder that's just called, I've got a bit of a tickle this morning, got a dry throat, it's called Winter Snow. So a really lovely embossing folder itself, although you can just about see the things in there. There we are. The picture on that one is quite helpful. The pictures aren't always helpful. We've got some balmy blue glitter paper. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? You get 2 sheets, 12 by 12 balmy blue glitter paper in the pack. That's rather beautiful, isn't it? We've got glitter paper. We've got these rather cool blue adhesive backed gems. They're sort of 2 different shades. One is sort of got more gold in it, if you like, that sort of goldy hue than the other. So really pretty. Some ribbon. Where's my ribbon gone? And I've used this on a project yesterday. So they call this the Snowflake Splendor ribbon. So it's an iridescent ribbon, which is really lovely because whatever colour, morning Jackie, whatever colour you use it with, it obviously picks up, because of that iridescence in it, it picks up the colours around it. So although it's gorgeous with the blues and things, there's no reason why you can't start using it with other colours. In fact, that sort of makes it stand out really quite nicely on that red. It almost gives it goldy tones. So yeah, so some iridescent ribbon, and then of course you've got the papers. So a pack of 12 by 12 papers. Let me just double check. Yes, this is one of the paper packs that is on sale this month, so you can get this pack of paper to 15% reduction at the moment. So on the one side you get sort of like these sort of funky backgrounds and watercolour wash type snowflakes. You know, these different colours. It's a lovely one, isn't it? Sort of multi-tonal snowflakes. And then if you turn them over, there are just these beautiful background papers. Isn't that pretty? Just really great. Would be great for scrapbooking, as well as just beautiful, beautiful backgrounds. Really lovely papers. So a really lovely collection. So that's enough of the adverts. Let's get playing. I'm going to move this catalogue to one side. Let me stack up these colours. Oh. And I think we might start with a little bit of die cutting. I will stop thinking about in a minute for reasons that will become clear. My plate's a little bit damp, so just going to give that an extra rub, and then I think we're good to go. And let's bring in these dies and have a look at what they do. So I'm going to take, I think, a piece of Whisper White cardstock. I want this square, so I think I'm going to go for, let's go let's go 12 centimetres square. No, I'm actually going to take that down to 11.5. I used to be decisive and now I'm not so sure. Right, 11.5 we're going to go. There we go. And then I think from the middle of that piece of cardstock we're going to take our die that cuts into rather than cuts out. Let's put that on the top and then let's run that through our machine. And look at that. Need something, purple is a funny colour, but just something to prop underneath it so that you can see the detail. It just happened to be a hand. Let's just pop out these centre pieces here. There, that where it's wet, it's picked up a bit of gunge. So there we go. There is a beautiful snowflake. Let me measure how wide the snowflake itself is. So it's point to point about 8.5 centimetres. I'm going to cut a bit of balmy blue glitter paper that is 9.5 centimetres, I think. We don't need to cut it any bigger than we need to cut it. I think that will give us, we could probably have gone a bit smaller, but let's give ourselves a little bit of a margin for error. And we'll have that sitting behind there. And then you've got that gorgeous blue shimmer paper peeping through. Just going to trim a smidge off the edge of this because it's picked up something gunky off the side of my plate. I'm sure that's just where they're wet. And get rid of all the little bits of snowflake onto the floor, sweep those up later. Right, so I think we're going to now layer up that snowflake a little bit. Let's layer it up with some stamped and cut images. So we have got this stamp here, and this stamp here both have dies that go with them. So we can stamp and die cut those, and I think it's this little bit just here in the middle as well. So let's have that one. So let's take the stamps. We might want to add another layer in somewhere. We'll see how we go, but we'll start with our stamped images. No, I think that's going to need to go onto the bigger block as well. But we can have a smaller block for that one. Let's just sit that to one side. Let's bring in our mat, particularly as this is the first time that we are using this photopolymer stamp. A bit of Whisper White card. Now, let's have a think. What colours should we do? I think I'm going to go Misty Moonlight. And let's ink up that stamp. See how that goes. I'm being brave and stamping it straight onto the card rather than onto scrap paper first. But that's beautiful. Clean that up, and then let's swap those stamps over and bring in this one. This one I think I'm going to go with the Highland Heather. Again, let's ink that up. Lovely. And then last but not least, I think we perhaps will use the Balmy Blue for this one, because we've got Balmy Blue in the background in our paper. So we want this die just here, and this die just here. Are those going to squeeze in next to each other? I do believe they are. Made to measure. And then itsy bitsy little die just there. Fabulous. Try to lift it up and pinged instead. I'm stabbing myself with scissors, that's not good. The other die might have scattered onto the floor. We'll have to have a dig about for that one in a minute if we need it again. Obviously I will find it at some point, but we've got our glimmer paper in the background. We've got a blue snowflake that's going to sort of sit in the gaps. Highland Heather one that we're again going to bring through into the gaps. We've got this little one on the front. just going to die cut this one in silver foil. I don't know whether we will use it, but we will see. I'm sure if we don't use it on this occasion, we shall use it another time. I'm going to snip out a bit of gold foil. And let's have a look. Yeah, I quite like it with that bit of silver foil as well. So there we've got this sort of multi-layered snowflake building up just there. It's rather pretty. Let's find some we'll go balmy blue. I might also bring in some Highland heather. We will see. We need a nice white card base. So this little square of white card is becoming a movable feast because I'm going to take it down a bit smaller again. What are we currently sitting at? That needs a good clean, doesn't it? Yeah, let's take a smidge off of each of those sides, and that will make it will make it 11 centimetres square. So we're taking it down now to 11 centimetres square. Let's come in with, do we want to go blue, then pink, and then Highland heather, or Highland heather and then blue? Let's swap that round and see. Yeah, we're going to go Highland heather then blue. Right, so that one was 11. Let's come 11.5 square with the Highland heather, and we'll come 12 centimetres square with our balmy blue. And then the thick whisper white, you could make this a 5-inch, because I've gone metric, I'm going to make it 12.5 centimetres. I'm going to cut it at 12.5 centimetres all the way down the length. 12.5 centimetres times 2, even on a Friday morning, I think it's 25, and then we'll score it at 12.5. So then, all being well, we should have a voila, a 12.5 inch, a 12.5 centimetre, 12.5 inch, that would be one enormous card. 12.5 centimetre card base with our snowflakes, with our balmy blue glitter. How pretty is that looking? And actually these wouldn't be difficult to build up, so if you were doing some mass production you could just sort of sit with your die cutting machine You know, stamp a whole load of snowflakes, die cut them all out, and then just sit and assemble. Once you've decided on your combinations, and actually even just the white and the blue on its own is quite pretty. You don't need to add lots of layers if you don't want to. So that is that. We do need one of the greetings on there. So what shall we go with? Snowflake wishes for a Merry Christmas. Thank you so much. I quite like the May Your Season Sparkle. But is that going to be too big? They're quite big greetings, aren't they? Not sure that any of those are going to sneak into there. It will have to be a built-up job somewhere. So I think we'll go Snowflake Wishes for a Merry Christmas. So I'm going to first of all stick these together, and then I can see where best to put my snowflake wishes. As always, we are creating these on the hop. So you are with me in the creative process, and as I try and get my glue to work. Come on, out you come. Not that there's not any in there, it's just that you're not coming out the end. With a little bunged up end. He really doesn't want to come out. You know just what's going to happen at some point. It's going to splurge. Really don't want it splurging either. Let's see if we can get it. It's so frustrating, isn't it, when you know that there's glue in there and it just doesn't want to come out. I don't think this one's got a lot in it. That's typical, isn't it? This is the one that hasn't got a lot in it, and that one's going to run. That serves me right for rejecting it for not having a lot in it. May not have a lot in it, but it's still giving its all. The other one will obviously need a stern talking to after the live. To put some glue around here. To attach that in place. Lots of glue on the back of that. Stick that down, and then we'll come to our little snowflakes. Now I don't want to attach these down too much. I'm quite happy for them to have their little arms flying free. Let's just make sure, oh, the foamy ends just come off my microphone. And then our Highland Heather piece. And then a little bit of silver foil. All the time matching up those centre pieces. And then I'm going to put this little bit in the middle here. Attached to my finger rather than to the snowflake. Stay. And then I think we'll find one of those glittery little gems. I'll go with the ones, the sort of paler ones, because I think they will reflect the silver better. I'll just put a little one of those in the middle there. Pretty pretty. Now I think I'm going to grab some silver embossing paste powder. Embossing paste, that could be quite a different challenge, wouldn't it? Let's find a block. Actually, let's do it that way. Our mat. A piece of Whisper White card looks just about perfect. Let's have an embossing buddy. Give that bit of a rub. And ooh, where have you gone, birthmark? I'm sure you can't be far away. There it is, literally straight in front of me. Let's ink that up with our Versamark. In our silver embossing powder. Pop the lid back on, so we don't knock it flying. And let's heat that up. Beautiful. Heat embossing never gets old, does it? And whoosh. It's gone from boring, plain old, a sort of dull grey powder to sparkle. Let's trim that up. I think it needs to come up a smidge more because I don't really want to chop the bottom off. I'm going to attempt to go in a a bit closer at the top there. That's it. Beautiful. And we'll take the end off of there. And with our scissors we'll do a little snip and to bring in some balmy blue, I think, and just give that the narrowest of borders just to help it pop. Going to bring it to the edge of the blue next. I think there's some dimensions in. Now pop dimensionals along there. And I think we will then, she says confidently, it's amazing how quick it descends into chaos. The reason I can't find them is that they've fallen on the floor. Look how cool these are on the back. They're all blue and really dark blue, and that's obviously what gives the iridescent dots on the top the different colours, is the colour that's underneath. I'm just going to take a couple more of these little ones, just add a few more bits of sparkle going around there. That's obviously picked up a little bit of fluff. It fell on the floor. There we go. So really quite simple, but lots of different sparkly elements in there. Really quite pretty. So just showing how those snowflakes all build up into something beautiful, as indeed snowflakes are. Right, let's just put some of these things away so that we are clearing the decks, ready to start again. And for the next one we're going to have a bit of a fun technique. So I had actually done a little bit of this, excuse me, oh excuse me, I could feel that sneeze coming. I had done a little bit of his I did earlier for this next one, just because I needed a little bit of drying, including my die cutting machine. Right, let's pop those in there for now, and let's put those on there for now. And remember that we've still got one somewhere hovering on the floor. Gone into my trolley, I suspect, somewhere, headed in that direction. Right, so for this next one we're going to be using our embossing folder. So let's dig that out. Let's move this out of the way so it doesn't get wet. Let's have a quick slurp of what I suspect is now cold tea. And this is a fun technique that we're going to be using with this embossing folder, but you can use with other embossing folders. So even if you're somewhere in the world that don't really do snow or snowy cards, you can grab different embossing folders and still do this same technique. So we've got this lovely embossing folder, so you can't see it very well, but just covered in Snowflake. So really pretty embossing folder. Now, here I have something that's been very precious in the past few months. Precious commodity. I have a toilet roll. And I'm going to tear about 4 sheets from this toilet roll. And 4. I'm hoping there's no other colours around and about. I am going to just take and hopefully clear off any little bits and bobs. Let's just take my tatty only for craft room purposes tea towel. Has so many holes in it. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this embossing folder and I'm going to spritz it. So it's just water in here. Spritz my embossing folder and then lay a sheet of toilet roll in it. Have a bit of a spritz. Put another one on top. You can do the same technique with napkins as well. And last but not least, give that another bit of a spritz. As you can imagine, this toilet roll is now quite soggy, and you wouldn't want to use it for anything mopping up wise, wiping wise, because it would just disintegrate now with all that water in, and it is dripping. There's so much water in there, it is dripping, but that's okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring across my machine, and this is just a standard embossing folder, so it's not a 3D one. This one, it's just a standard one. So I need to grab my base plate and 2 clear mats. Where's the clear mat gone? Can't be far away because I had it just a little while ago. I can see it peeping out. There it is. So I'm going to put my embossing folder in the middle, sandwich it between my 2 clear plates, and I've just got my base plate. So that's number 1 and 2 number 3s. And I'm going to run that through there. Now you can, I don't know whether you can see this, the water that's swooshing out of here, but there is going to be water swoosh out the end there. Now you know why my plates and die cutting machine were wet when we started. Let's grab that and that, give that a bit of a wipe. Hopefully if we come to use it again in a minute, it won't be too wet. Drying up on a Facebook Live, who knew? So I'm just going to peel this. You could actually just leave it, if you weren't going to do anything else, you could leave it in there to dry. Just going to peel it off. Now that doesn't look particularly exciting. It's all soggy and it's wet, and yeah, whatever. I'm just going to grab here's one I made earlier, which I've been trying on my radiator. But the radiator isn't on, it had been on this morning, so it was still a little bit warm. So here's one that is now dry. So you can see that's all bonded together. It's like one solid sheet of paper. can see where you have to be careful with colour. It picked up a little bit of red, but it's beautifully embossed. It's gorgeous texture to it, and it doesn't matter if you wanted to put a bigger piece in a bigger embossing folder. The perforations disappear as well, so they don't actually matter, because as you add all that water and run it through the embossing, as you've broken down all those fibres, the perforations disappear. So yeah, you can do a bigger embossing folder as well, but really, really lovely. So I thought we would take that and we would use that as a part of the background. I think I'm going to actually, because this is quite nice, if you tear it, you get a nice fluffy outline. I don't think we're quite out of the woods in terms of, you know, you can totally use up all your stockpile toilet roll, but if you did go slightly mad in stockpiling it, here's a good use for it. Look at that, isn't that lovely? These fluffy edges. Really pretty. We could of course sponge over the top of that just to pick up the snowflakes. Quite tempted. Let's have a look. Pick up the balmy blue dauber. Might just come round all the edges with that. I also grabbed the Highland Heather one and do a bit of where have you gone? I saw you just now. Pink Saucy Fern. Did I already get it out? Blushing Bride. So Saffron. Highland Heather. Straight in front of me. Let's grab a Highland Heather dauber and just add in a tickle of that. Isn't that pretty? It's just going to give you another texture on there. Right, let's have a look at these lovely background papers. I quite like this one, I think, that's got the Highland Heather sort of swooshes on it. Let's have a little bit of that. Cut that to 13.9. Come this way actually. By 9.5. pen, 14.4. I think we'll have some of this ribbon coming through here. In the background, it's going to pick up those shimmery colours. Snip that off. Ooh. I'm quite liking that. Now I might take this little stamp with these little snowflakes on. I think this time I'm going to grab white embossing powder. Just going to take this background sheet just here, my embossing buddy, add in, let's just put in a few little snowflakes in this background. So just really subtle, snowflakey bit in the background there. I'm going to go back to the snowflakes that have got sort of watercolory ones that we can die cut. I'm quite liking the sort of soft background just here. I think we'll go Highland Heather for the larger one. And then let's go barley blue for the smaller one. So they do have that sort of, they're not a solid stamp. They're not supposed to be. They are supposed to have that sort of slightly faded watercolour sort of effect to them. Find our dies. Let's have that little one as well. So I'll have these two that are going to cut out the image, and then that little one, find, can't see it because it's upside down. Let's just cut ourselves a little bit of that out. That was my plates all falling on the floor. We'll pick those up in a minute. Let's chop across there. There's one. Ooh, I don't think we're going to get away with doing those two together. We'll have to come back. Otherwise they will overlap. And that is a disaster waiting to happen. Because your one die will cut into your other die and you really don't want that happening. Let's just run that through. Pop that one out, and let's do this one. That one out. Ooh, pretty. Pretty, pretty, pretty. I think we'll go, I think we'll actually take a little piece of Highland heather. Actually, let's take that bit because that's a slightly smaller bit, and pick that up on a block. Let's grab our embossing buddy again and our Versamark. Well, I don't know whether the dogs of the district are in approval of our project or whether they are letting us know their disapproval. They're certainly making themselves known out there. Let's sprinkle that on. So as I say, you might not have snowflakes and things, but that idea of embossing paper, perhaps adding some colour to it, you could do that with all sorts of embossing folders. And we actually did that in a class fairly recently where it was all about crafting with household items, and that was one of the things we did. We played with toilet roll. Perhaps another day I'll show you one of the other things we did with toilet roll. But it was good fun. Right, I'm going to dig about and find, hopefully, I think I'm going to go stitch to labels. See where the colours changed in that card where I've heated it. Are we able to come down a size? These ones tend to be quite deceptive. Yes, I think we are, because they don't sort of come down equal amounts on both sides. So you might think, oh, the next one down is going to be far too small, but it's not necessarily. Now my card is curling there, but hopefully that will be enough just to keep that in place while we cut it. Stay. Okay, we need a card base. Have I got one here? Yes, I have. I've got one. Here's one I created earlier. So let's start to build our bit of card up then with our toilet roll card. So a Highland Heather mat. We've got our DSP here with its snowflakes on. We're going to want to attach the ribbon around that. Look, that's a lovely paper as well, isn't it? So that was this was actually a bit of seal, plus you managed to do this with a bit of the ordinary seal as well, I'm sure. Or just attach it on the back with a bit of tape. It's the one that doesn't want to work. And then we'll come in with our toilet roll. So you can see there, that's the debossed side, still really pretty. So that's how it is white, that's how it is when we've added some colour. And you could of course experiment with adding a bit of colour before you embossed with it. I'm going to put that down at a bit of an angle. I'm going to leave the edges sort of fluffing up. I don't want those to be too precise. I think I'm going to stick this down flat rather than upon dimensionals. Don't give up on me now, glue. You can do this. You can keep going. So that just there. And then we'll have our snowflakes. So I think I'm going to pop a dimensional under there. We're going to need to bring it out a bit just so that, yeah, I think that's fine. Don't want the snowflake obliterating the greetings underneath it. Now that one's going to give up as well. Let's go for glue dots. Trusty glue dots. They're not going to let me down. Not that the glue lets you down really, it's fab, it just is that the one is nearly run out and the other one obviously has just got a bit bunged up and needs a little bit of attention. Let's add a glue dot there to our sparkly one. bring in a couple of these. Have a bigger one in the centre there. How pretty is that? So our embossed toilet roll, we've picked the colours out in, built up that beautiful snowflake with some stamped, some just die cut, and there's that other one using that inlay sort of die with the sparkle at the back of it. And obviously you don't have to stick to this colour palette, but just that was the colour palette that's dictated by the papers, and it is rather beautiful. It is rather beautiful. So thank you for joining me for my first play with the Snowflake Splendor suite. We'll forgive them for their cheesy blurb and for spelling Splendor wrong. So for those of us outside of the US, it's got a U in it, please, thank you. But we'll forgive them for that because it's beautiful. So thank you and have a lovely, lovely weekend, and I will see you on Monday.